Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, Am I the Arsehole Here for wanting to expose my sister to her husband after she confessed to my husband on her wedding day? Sorry for the confusing title. I didn't know how to word it in any other way. I, 24 female, have been married to my husband, 27 male, for about 2 years. My sister, 26 female, and her husband, 26 male, are high school sweethearts. My sister and I have always been close, despite the small age gap. She acted like my second mother, so I never doubted her in anything. Let's call her Jane. My husband, let's call him Bob, and I met at uni. I was 20 and he was 23. He excelled in both academics, sports, and looks, and was well known around campus because of that, so obviously I had a crush on him. Jane also attended the same uni. Because I was new, she included me into a big circle of friends, and he was a part of that. I never made a move because I respected Jane and her friends. I didn't want to cause any trouble or make things awkward. She meant the world to me. Eventually though, Bob and I became close friends. I grew to like him more. I also noticed that Jane rarely interacted with him, which was odd considering she was close to almost everyone in her circle, but I never said anything. I did end up telling her that I liked him though. She told me not to get my hopes up because he wasn't interested in any relationship. I was crushed, but tried to see him as a friend. He ended up confessing to me on my 21st birthday and we began dating, which obviously resulted in marriage, and here we are now. During the entire time we are dating, Jane started to distance herself from me. We did have a talk about it when Bob and I first started dating, and I told her I'd break up with him if she wasn't comfortable with it considering he's her friend, but she rejected the idea. She hugged me and said she was happy for me, so I took her words for it. She still distanced herself though. Her husband, boyfriend at the time, we'll call him Jim. He didn't attend uni, but his dad has a small construction business that he works at. Jim's a good man. He did everything for Jane, but due to our culture, women can't leave the family house until marriage, so Jane and I still lived with our parents then. So when Jim saved up enough money to buy a house, he proposed to Jane and she said yes. Fast forward a year and Bob proposed. I said yes. Up until now, all Jane had done was distance herself from me. But when I sat my family down and told them the news, she cried. I thought she was crying from happiness until my mum told me that I should have taken my sister's feelings into consideration before telling them. It was odd. It seemed like no one was happy. My mum took Jane to her room, but my dad stayed. He told me that Jane was having a hard time with Jim, and I believed them. Since then, Jane distanced herself more from me. When I tried speaking to her, she replied curtly, and when I brought it up with my mum, she said that she's going through a hard time, so I shouldn't make it worse, so I left her alone. That was until Bob confessed that Jane had been texting him consistently for the past few weeks. He showed me the text. She asked if she could call or meet him. She'd also attempted to text him late at night. The last one was when she sent photos of her in revealing dresses and asked him to choose the prettiest. That's when he decided to tell me about it. Before anyone says anything, no, Bob didn't lead her on. His texts were dry, and frankly, if I wasn't so upset with my sister, I'd say rude. He felt uncomfortable, but decided to put up with it because she was my sister. He also admitted that Jane had confessed to him years ago, but he rejected her. It felt like everything was falling into place when he told me that. I was so hurt by her, I immediately confronted her when I got home. I thought she'd at least be ashamed, but she said that I stole him from her. What's worse is that my mum sided with her. I've always had a feeling she was my mum's favourite, but she was my favourite too. It made sense everyone loved Jane. I loved her too, but she betrayed me in the worst way possible. She even said she hated me and didn't want to see me again. No one sided with me, so I packed my things and left. My dad told me that I shouldn't leave because it's not appropriate for an unmarried girl to leave her parents' house. My mom even called me a whore for leaving to go to Bob's place, and that hurt a lot. It took a long time for me to get over what they did. When I think about it, it still stings. Bob and I lived together before marriage. I also cut contact with my family, and Bob and I got married without inviting anyone from my side, aside from a few close relatives. It was a lovely wedding, by the way. But a week ago, my cousin told me Jane had her wedding. I guess she went ahead with it. Today though, Bob showed me a message he got on Instagram from her. He hadn't seen it because it was in the request section, but it dated back to a week ago. She confessed to him again and told him she'd make him happier than me if he gave her a chance to. I'm upset. Really upset. He screenshotted it and blocked her and asked if it was okay to send it to Jim, but I said no. I don't know why. Jim deserves better, but I just don't want to deal with her anymore. I can't take it. I feel so guilty to keep this away from Jim. However, I don't want this to blow up in my face, especially when Bob and I have been living so peacefully now. And we do have an edit in a moment and an update as well. Oh wow, and I feel like incredibly bad for Jim in this situation. You know, you said he's a good guy and he's just being strung along. And, you know, he just deserves so much better. And I know it's difficult because, you know, I'm sat here reading this story behind a microphone. I'm seeing a very small part of your life. And who in reality really wants to invite drama into their lives? But you said yourself that you're pretty much no contact with your family now anyway. So I think there is the potential to let Jim know and, you know, just block the rest of the family because you are no contact with them anyway and they've all treated you pretty badly. And I was kind of thinking from like your husband's point of view, maybe, I know you're saying you're no contact, potentially blocked already, but just giving that final message of saying like, I am not interested, leave me alone. Because it sounds like she's held on to this, I can only call it an obsession, for a long time now. And at this point, I can't see just blocking her is going to change her mind either. But Winterfront says, wow, she is desperate. And you can't steal him from her if he didn't want her. He had years before you to pursue something with her, but he never did. He really should set her straight and then block her. It says, I have many opportunities to pursue something with you before your name, and I didn't, because I wasn't interested then, and I certainly ain't interested now. You're embarrassing yourself, and I quite frankly feel sorry for you. That you have lost your baby sister because you thought I was some prize to claim. I've tried to be nice about this, but now you're just being damn right disrespectful to me and my wife, so I'll spell it out. I don't want you, never have, never will, and if you message me again, I will send everything to Jim. Then block, but I'd send everything to him anyway. Poor guy is a backup, and he doesn't know it. Save him from wasting any more of his time. Carolina Mama says, you said it yourself, Jim deserves better. You already don't talk to your family. What blow up are you expecting of you telling Jim? She's gonna hurt him in the long run. Release says, not the arsehole, your biological family is trash. If your sister and your mother show up at your door and you need police, take pictures of the police escorting them away for being the trashy criminal wannabes they are. You can send that picture to other relatives that your sister and mother are behaving like criminals. Each in Life says, and quotes OP saying, my dad told me that I shouldn't leave because it's not appropriate for an unmarried girl to leave her parents' house. And then says, it's also not appropriate for a mother to call her daughter a whore for no good reason. And it's also not appropriate for you to live in a house where you're being abused in favor of your mother's golden child. Your dad could have stepped in on your behalf and put a stop to it, and he chose not to. And by choosing that, he chose your sister too. So screw them all. And if your husband sends that stuff to Jim, and I would unblock her and let her send more, that's none of your business. She's been sexually harassing him since long before you married, and has continued after she got married. I don't see why Jim should be the only one in the dark. In my opinion, he should have been told before he married her in the first place. Canyon says, not the arsehole. I can understand your hesitancy. However, Jim deserves to know the truth of the woman he's married. He thinks he's married the love of his life who wants to be with him, when in reality he's married a woman that can't get over a crush from school and would rather cut her own sister off than be normal. Your sister and family have already hurt you. They've already been horrible to you. Block them, don't answer the door for them. They don't deserve a second of your time. Let your husband tell Jim the truth. You don't have to get involved past that. So first, OP edited the post after the comments and says, thank you all for solid advice both on this post and my other post. I think deep down I was still attached to the family who raised me, especially my sister. The comments have given me a reality check. For those asking what I meant by this blowing up in my face, I know my sister. I'm afraid she'll come to my house with my mum and escalate things to the point the police is needed. But I also understand that she'll keep harassing my husband and ruining Jim's life further if we keep quiet. I took your advice and told Bob he could contact Jim if he wanted. He said he'll think about it, so I'm leaving it at that for now. Personally, knowing his personality, he probably already sent it to Jim, even after I said no. But I'll wait to see what happens. Thanks again, and if anything happens, I'll update. So OP comes in with the update and says, "Hi, I just wanted to make a small update. As I thought, Bob sent the message to Jim, even when I told him not to. He also screen recorded the message to prove that it came from her account, which I didn't know he did. At least one of us is smart. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but Jim didn't reply until last night. He called Bob and then had a long chat. Apparently, when Jim confronted Jane, she tried to blame Bob for coming on to her. They had a fight and she left to stay with our parents. I know a lot of you told me to send the screenshot to my parents. I did. I sent it to my dad, not my mum. I'm sorry, but I can't still find the strength to talk to her, and I don't think I ever will. My dad said he and mum will deal with it, and not to tell anyone what Jane did. I feel worse now for even thinking he'd side with me, lol. For anyone wondering whether Bob sent Jim the old messages from Jane years ago, he didn't. He bought a new phone right after we cut contact, so he doesn't have them anymore. I don't know if Jim will divorce or annul Jane, but he told Bob not to contact him anymore. So I think we did our parts already. Thankfully, she hasn't come to my house, but I did take your advice about installing cameras. We'll be doing that next week. Thank you for all the help. You guys are right. Bob is my new family, so I'm not going to think about Jane or my parents anymore. We're having dinner at his parents tonight, so I'm rushing writing this, lol. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a good day." And a couple of the top comments after that one. First one said, "You deserve better. I'm glad to hear that you have Bob though. He sounds like a great partner." Next comment says, "Don't let them silence you and continue to enable their daughter. Make sure everyone knows exactly who and what these people are. You're paying it forward so no one else is victimized." And the final comment says, "Adding to this, your dad just wants to protect his daughter, not you, his other daughter, by telling you not to tell anyone. I would still suggest telling people, because what if they try to change the story now to minimize the damage your sister did to you, or make you look bad in front of mutual friends or family? The whole family could lie and say you knew the sister had a crush on Bob this whole time since high school, or scrutinize the beginnings of your relationship. To name a few examples of how your reputation could be called into question. If a husband annuls, can you trust that your sister won't lose her shit and try doing whatever possible to make you feel or look bad in your relationship? I'm sorry, but your dad's word isn't to be trusted either." Opie says, "I don't trust his words either, but there's nothing more I can do. Genuinely, I'm very tired. I don't really care about my reputation nor what my extended family thinks, because I don't interact with them anyway. As for Jane, if she tries anything, we'll just get a restraining order. Thank you for your concerns though. You mentioned many valid points." I get OP where they're coming from in that last comment where they just said, they're tired. Family drama and stuff like that can absolutely wipe you out and you just want nothing to do with it anymore. But I also felt the same way as that comment said about Dad's reaction to it, don't tell anyone. And I'm not saying like OP should go around and, spread it around, chucking the screenshots everywhere, but to actively hide her behavior and enable her behavior is just carrying on down the same path. But OP wants nothing to do with them anymore. OP's out of that situation, and hopefully it will continue that way and they'll just be able to continue to live their life with their husband, because I honestly can't blame them at all from separating themselves from that shit. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit that says, "Am I the arsehole for breaking up with my boyfriend because he ripped my jeans in public? My boyfriend uploads various pranks, here we go, he makes with his friends to TikTok. From the beginning, I asked him not to include me in his pranks and that I didn't want my face to appear in any of his videos. Sometimes I help him record or edit videos, but that's all. 2 days ago at night, we were going to buy some things with his friends. Before we went, we had sex and we were late. He went down to the car while I finished dressing. I couldn't find my panties, so I just put on my jeans. When we arrived at the place and his friends were already there, everything was going normally until we reached the hallway. My boyfriend and one of his friends grabbed my back pockets and pulled them pretty hard and tore my jeans completely. When my boyfriend realized I wasn't wearing panties, he started yelling at me and then proceeded to give me his sweater. When we got to his house, I had to call my brother to bring me some clothes. I told him we're breaking up and then I left. Today he came to my house to talk and started calling me exaggerated and that it was my fault for not wearing panties and that he is the one who should be angry because thanks to that fact I was not wearing panties, his friends saw my butt. Am I the arsehole? Absolutely break up with this guy. At some point, they've thought about this plan. They've planned this. And at no point in their mind, they've gone, this is a fucking stupid thing to do. Why are we considering doing this? Dude's got so many red flags. He decided to include you in his pranks, even though you asked him not to. Telling you it's your fault, the gaslighting basically. Humiliating you in public, destroying your jeans. But Not Woke Bloke says, coming from my adult male perspective, ripping anyone's jeans in public is not funny, but especially your significant other's jeans. It shows disregard for concern, lack of respect, childish behavior. It shows he is more interested in seeking validation or attention or money from others, and less about honoring his relationship with you. Find a better guy. They do exist. Maybe he'll learn his lesson for the next gal. Hopefully. P Street says, not the arsehole. Firstly, you asked him not to include you in pranks and he ignored that. This means he isn't respectful of your boundaries or even as a person, he doesn't respect you. Secondly, something that embarrassed you was not about him, yet he made it about himself. Main character syndrome much. You weren't wearing panties and his problem was that his friends saw you without panties when he didn't notice after sex that your panties were missing. Him blaming you for everything shows lack of accountability on his part. Add to that, people who prank are incredibly immature, leaving everything aside. Even if the prank had gone well and you were wearing panties, it would have been disrespecting your boundaries and would honestly still be bad. And not to exclude the ruining of a perfectly normal pair of jeans. What a waste. And there was a lot of people suspecting that he hid the undies, but a couple of days later, OP comes in with their update, which says, my boyfriend came to talk to me this afternoon after getting off work. I didn't want to talk to him, but he insisted, so I let him talk. He apologized to me. He said he didn't want to throw away our 5 years of relationship for something really stupid and not worth it. He meant making pranks and posting them on TikTok. That he knows that his behavior has changed too much in the last year and a half and that he really regrets it. He said that he wanted to be with me and that he was even going to ask me to marry him for our anniversary, which is in June, and that he already has the ring since December. He said he grabbed my panties and hid them for himself. He would make fun of me saying something like, look what I just found, and then he would use them to do indecent things. The prank was not planned. My boyfriend's friends convinced him about 5 minutes before. He forgot that he hid my panties and that's why he reacted by yelling at me. When he came to my house yesterday blaming me, he said it was because he was embarrassed and desperate about how I would react. He asked me for another chance. He also said he would stop joking completely. Furthermore, he said that if necessary, he would distance himself from his friends completely. But I really don't know what to do. I asked him for time to think about it, but I really don't know. I really love him, but he exceeded the limits I set for him regarding pranks, and he let himself be convinced by his friends. Do not get back together with that guy. There is no way you're going to convince me that he forgot about these undies. He hid them. It was all a part of that prank, if you're even going to call it that. And the dude is just desperately backtracking now, going down the old, I was going to ask you to marry me, which I've already got the ring for, etc. If that's not going to be a prank as well. Come June, he might get down on one knee and then pull out a ring pop, which I've seen in these clips as well. Just be done with that, move on, you deserve better, and well, hopefully he'll learn some kind of lesson from this. I doubt it very much, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.